engaging city.
That's like more of a theme across many options though, right?
Well,
mean, anything that says new site would mean better city cooperation, right?
at least on some.
No, you could buy privately.
Well, you could, but you always want the city to pony up something, right? Either money or land or some cooperative thing. So, well, I'll just talk for myself. Whenever I hear new site, I think one immediate thing is see if a city can help you.
But I think possibly you were talking about not just within Los Altos, but you're talking about cross-city kind of collaboration, Mountain View, and potentially cross-district collaboration.
Right, this is a problem for.
Okay, so maybe even
all of them.
PAUSD and Mountain View and LASD, talking about where we start bleeding into each other's cities, is address some of those enrollment issues together.
Okay,
Get the conversation going.
you ready?
Starting with the growth in the north and realizing that Egan has now become the largest school in the district, that the population of junior high kids are growing just like the elementary. So an innovative program that I worked with many years ago that was a model program and was very successful was a pre-K through second grade. So taking Covington's trans kindergarten and actually even preschool, adding a preschool to that model, preschool through second grade, and putting it on Egan's campus, leaving Egan is either a 7-8 or 6-7-8, but it would allow for some very innovative programming between the junior high students and the younger students, and I think it would allow for some very innovative, time needs are very different for the two programs, so you could, it would not, after-school sports would not interfere with a smaller age group, so it would, I think, add in a potential of a very exciting model program at that end of town. And then Covington would be a 3-6 or a 3-5, and it would make more space if you put a K-8 on shared campus with that. It'd be less dense. The same thing could happen at Block with a pre-K through second grade on Block, actually opening up a campus then for a new magnet school for the district that would pull from the entire population. So that was our thought. Any questions?
What are you building on Covington?
On Covington would be a 3-6, and then BCS would exist as their K-8 program. But
On
there'd be more
Covington,
space
on
on
Covington.
Covington, but there'd be more space.
So where do the K2 students come from, the existing?
For
Do you convert
Egan,
all the other?
for Egan, pre-K second would come from Covington,
So just those.
So the other elementaries would stay K-6.
except for one other elementary. If you took the same and did the same over at Block,
On the other side of town.
on the other side of town, you might turn that smaller population then into a magnet school. You'd have space to actually create a magnet school, and then the families could either choose to stay with that magnet school or go to a different school.
So that's just to encourage enrollment growth to go over there, right? From any area of the district.
Magnet
That's-
schools are
that's that
often,
part.
right,
That's-
because they cross boundaries, so and that would be a good area to have that.
And then you had, so that was at Covington, what was it, Block? Or Egan?
Block would, at Egan would be either a 6-8 or 7-8, but with population growth, I suspect it's going to be a 7-8, just numbers wise. And on the field, or not on the field, but on the current BCS aspect of it, would be the pre-K, or what I'd love to see is actually a preschool through second grade as a model magnet program, and then some interaction between the two.
Okay. And then Block
Block would have the same
as Egan?
preschool through second grade on their campus, and on the other campus then that had reduced numbers could become the magnet school. So I don't know if that would be, I can't, didn't think that far ahead. Anybody want to pitch in with it?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can the school district get ADA for preschool?
Well, we
No.
don't get funded for preschool right now. And we don't get ADA for any of our kids right now because we're our property tax revenues.
Oh,
Basically.
oh, okay.
I do want to put in a pitch, though, for us to think about preschool, particularly on the north end of town, because it's a great need and really helps children who don't have access to good quality preschool get a tremendous head start. And I think that as a community, we want to promote all of our children receiving a quality education that can only make everything better.
What is the, so preschool meaning before 4 years old? Like, what's the distinction between preschool and TK? Or is
Typically,
TK not
honestly,
enough?
there's that, and just getting a little fuzzier with the transitional K. When I was working with that model program, it was 4-year-olds.
Okay.
Yeah, start with 4s, but you could go down to 3s, but it was 4-year-olds. Late 3s, 4.
Okay. That's it on that table, so.
Question?
Who wants to
Any,
go
I'm
next?
sorry, any question?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, did I cut off questions? Okay, who wants to go at this table?
Okay, so we were considering what would happen if they could not find a large enough site for a school that they would want. So we were talking about the idea that you would have 2 small sites. One would be K through 3 or transitional through 2 or 3, and the other one would be the approximately 4 to 6 or 3 to 5, depending on what happened with your middle schools. And this would open up one elementary school that could be used for BCS. You could still reconfigure the middle school for the 6 through 8. And the idea was that even if you couldn't necessarily find 2 appropriate small sites, you could put half of that population, for example, at a new site, and then use half of it at a site such as Block. Again, with the same idea that you could use the larger spaces to create a little micro school for the younger kids and still have facilities and space that you might not have while you're trying to buy more land in other areas. Ideally, 2 sites should be near each other so that the kids can transition from the lower grades to the higher grade. But the second choice would be 1 micro school and then the next level up at the junior high campus. The cons would be, again, the issue of overhead, but depending on their location, you wouldn't necessarily need a principal to run a 3-grade school. So I think,
Shared principals.
yeah, I think there can be a lot of shared staff, especially in the day and age of computers.
Okay, so I'm calling this one 2 small sites. Any questions on that one? So did you, I didn't hear BCS, what happened? with
Right, BCS would get the elementary school that would open up as a
Got it.
result of the 2, of a population
So
moving
BCS to
to
vacate
2
its-
microsites, yeah.
Got it, thank you.
So I think, I agree, ideally these sites are near each other, but do you have any preferences if they're not near each other? Is it anywhere in the district or?
Well, I
does it
think
matter?
ideally, the idea would be that to have something for north of El Camino, particularly for the smaller kids, so that they wouldn't have to be traveling. And that if you had to do it without the 2 sites, put the smaller children hopefully north of El Camino, where there is a lack of a facility, and put the older kids closer to or on one of the middle school campuses. And that way they have a more natural transition, if you couldn't get 2 sites fairly near each other.
So Louise, you'd have to do middle school conversion with this option also, right?
That would probably be the ideal, yeah.
Okay. Should we move on? We're making good time.
No, that was this one.
Go ahead.
You should put this one on to it.
Oh, sorry, I'll write this up. This.
We don't have any more here.
Oh,
Okay.
what about this? I'm sorry, what about Gerald's?
That was yours.
Oh, that was?
Yes.
That was it. All prettied up.
Yes.
Okay, so one here is that you acquire a site and you, somewhere in the north of El Camino, and BCS has to occupy it. And the kind of the genesis is, well, the enrollment growth task force said 2 schools, one for North of El Camino, one for BCS. But if you can't do that, well, this is like 1.5. You just buy the site there and you put the school that doesn't have a site right now there. So you avoid this, we've got 9 schools, 8 sites type thing. Well, now you have 9 sites, 9 schools. Positives would be you can go middle school conversion, provided you have enough money to buy the site and then have money left over to do it. So that's probably the real issue. If you do have the money to do that, you don't have to change any attendance boundaries. You have very little disruption. You can convert to accommodate enrollment growth, and you basically get everything done. One, my own personal thought that could be a problem is people may say, or I'll say it, if you put all your money building for BCS there, and it's a really nice place, and you have this sort of problem of, well, did you just reward them for suing you for years? And is that something that's politically feasible? So this question on the back here, is it politically feasible? I think yes, if money is at X, but no if the money is X plus. Over time, I think this is a good choice because I think people will apply to BCS who live nearby. So whatever ill will there is now in 10 years is much less because there's all these people with young families living over there and they're not going to be bogged down in things, and it will become a de facto neighborhood school. So it'll accomplish this 2-school objective with 1 site. But it would take a lot of money because the land's expensive and that may not work, but I think it's worth looking into. The dream scenario is that you can build it on a smaller parcel, couple of stories, dig down the basement, build it 2 stories up, and the city of Mountain View takes whatever money they have for park fees that they're taking and says, yeah, we'll put a park next to it, and you share that. So you don't spend all your money, you still have money to do the middle school conversion. So that's one I had there.
So what can I call that? Just
BCS and North of El Camino, that's what I called it.
So how does that address the enrollment growth in the north end of the district?
Because over time, I think they'll apply to BCS. That may be a bad assumption, but I think people will apply to a school that's walkable.
So that's at a new site, James?
Yes.
At new site.
And it obviously, if you don't have a site, it doesn't work. Because if they can't walk to it, then you're back to where you're at now. So it's limited by being able to acquire a site.
So so I'm going back to, was it option 1? So option 1 was built, buy a site and put BCS on it, right? And then do middle school conversion.
So this is like
Is
option
this-
1 plus. in
Okay,
that
so it's a
buy site
variation of
only
option 1?
in a certain spot.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was understanding it.
So the distinction there is if you put the school in Los Altos Hills, it doesn't work as well because you still have this enrollment issue of the north of El Camino not being addressed. But if you put the school in there, I think people over time would go to it.
So that would need middle school conversion also, right?
It wouldn't need it, I don't think, but I think it would make sense to do it
If
But
there's-
no, but to get to the
if the
what?
money was there, yes.
I'll put it on here.
I would say ideally, yes, middle school conversion.
Okay.
And then my comment is there really a site available north of El Camino? You know,
That I have no idea about.
Luckily, we don't have to solve that problem. Okay, did you have another one?